you. I'm gonna tell you a funny story, and I almost got in big trouble. I got to reception, and well, let's back up because they had Airborne initially. Remember in AIT, they're like, "Hey, these people have been chosen to go to Airborne school," and my name was on there. So I was like, "Okay, let's do it." And then
So
I
that was
remember,
the first time you realized you was going airborne?
yes,
Wow.
yeah, because I told them to take it off my contract,
And they didn't take it off.
It's war.
Welcome home, welcome home. It's war, we're all recovering. I'm super excited today, ladies and gentlemen. This one is about to hit different. I got the heartbeat, the backbone, the face of the Swaggy Vets network with me, Big Penn in the house. Right here, you can see it right here. The swaggiest is with me, ladies and gentlemen. I met this man at AIT in 2001. Two young soldiers trying to figure out life. We became friends. So I got to Fort Bragg first. He showed up second because he decides after AIT he's going airborne. Okay, so now he's on the second side. I'm on the soft side. I'm on COSCOM side. Same post, different missions, same era, same war building up. You know, we've been friends ever since. So today isn't just the interview. This is a history right here. This is brotherhood. This is what happens when survival turns into service. Big Penn, welcome to war.
yo,
Yo.
welcome. Hey, it's war, baby. Welcome home.
We're all recovering. Yes, sir. So you grew up. Yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of that, when I got to Fort Bragg, my man Stryker was already there, and I was in 82nd replacement. I called him up. I said, "Hey, man, what you doing?" And he's like, "Nothing." I was like, "Come scoop me up." He came. Hey, he had the Highlander, the SUV.
Oh, the Highlander.
Yeah, the black Highlander. He come and scoop me up. Had the music bumping, and we was hanging out, man. And he gave me a good welcome to Fort Bragg. I didn't know what I was doing, so he's like, yeah, because your mom was living there, so you knew what it was like around there. So he showed me around and got me acclimated, man. I appreciate you from day one, brother.
No doubt. We had some good times, man. Some fun times. I'm not gonna go into all the fun and wild stuff we did. But you had the green 626?
Yeah, so I bought that while I was in replacement, the little Mazda 626. It was a 96. Yeah. And then he was like, "Man, you need to go get you some music." I was like, "Okay." I went and got some music, put some wheels on it. You couldn't tell me nothing.
Your wheels was bigger than mine. I had the 10s on it. Remember, I had to get the 626. I had the 10s on it, but I kept them clean though. I kept them clean. Yeah, no doubt. So let's get into it, baby, shall we?
Okay,
yes, sir. This one is gonna be, we're gonna hit home with this one, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go back to the beginning, before you was Big Penn. You grew up in Orlando, Florida, or in that area.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was born in D-Land, Florida.
I know it.
Yeah. So D-Land, Florida, but I lived in this little town called Paisley, Florida.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. Not many people's heard of it. Man, I'm gonna tell you, and my grandmother and grandfather lived there, so that's why we lived there with my mom. And we lived right up the street from them, a little street called Georgia Street. Yeah, grew up in, well, I wouldn't say I grew up in Paisley. I lived there for a while until I was about 10, because I remember my grandfather died in 91. He died of cancer. And then after that, my grandfather was kind of like the glue that kept us all together. So as soon as he died, it was in 91. So I had just turned 10. And I remember both my uncles picked me up from the bus stop one day. And I was like, this is weird. Even as a 10-year-old, I knew something was wrong. And they're like, yeah, I called him Papa. That was my Papa. And he was like, yeah, Papa's gone. I was like, what? Yeah, I didn't know how to process it. So after that, we kind of moved around. a little bit until, my mom, she kind of relied on my grandmother and grandfather for a lot of stuff. So as soon as he died, my grandmother moved in with my uncle, who was in the Air Force. And, after that, it was crazy because she was with them for about 6 months and then came and stayed with us. And I remember one morning, I used to sleep with my grandma to keep her company. But I remember one morning, my mom came in the room and she's like, "Oh my God, Bradley, I think Granny's dead." So, so woke up. I jumped out of bed, man. And our phone wasn't cut on, so I had to run across the street to the neighbor's house and tell him, "Hey, I need y'all to call the ambulance or 911, whatever, So did that and they came and she went peacefully, died in her sleep. Yeah, died in her sleep. And you can't ask for something better than that. So after that, my mom kind of lost herself. And so I then moved in with my dad. And moved in with my dad. And things were rough with him because I wasn't used to him. He was kind of like the weekend dad, and wasn't really there and didn't really know how to take care of a kid because I was his only kid. And he was married. And the thing about my stepmom, she went deaf from some medication she was taking. So she was really, what's the word I'm looking for? Because she tried to sue, the pharmaceutical company, but it didn't work out. And she was really bitter. So life was really bad for her then because this was new. And, well, to this day, I know she's gotten a lot better. But back then, she was really bitter and hated life. And so things really weren't good. And my dad was a truck driver. He drove at night, went out, came back, and he'd sleep during the day. So I really didn't get a chance to really hang out with him, only on the weekends. And we didn't have a real good relationship. So the streets kind of raised me back then.
Right. I'm seeing that right now.
Yeah, and that wasn't really a good recipe for somebody who's 13 years old, not knowing too much. So, the streets kind of raised me and things weren't good. Then my Uncle John, who I was just talking about, who's in the military, said, "Hey, send him to come live with me." So back then I wasn't religious, but I met an individual who said, "Hey, man, you know Jesus? You need to accept Jesus." So back then I found myself as kind of like a religious person. So I prayed for a family who can take care of me. And then one day my Uncle John said, "Hey, you need to come live with me."
Wait, your Uncle John is still in the military?
No, he's retired now. He's retired. He was actually on my podcast, but he's a retired Major General at the Air Force.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But back then he was a 6. He's a full bird back then. So, they kind of, I was like an individual who won the lottery, but wasn't financially literate, right? So what do people do when they win a bunch of money and don't know about finances? They blow it.
Squander it, yeah.
Exactly. They squander it. And that's exactly what I did. I had this awesome family, my Uncle John and my Aunt Kitty, who now I just went and saw them. They just celebrated 52 years of marriage, so shout out to them.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so I lived with them, but I had my ears pierced and I dyed my hair. That's back when Eminem first came out. So
Wow. I could picture you now.
Had the blonde hair.
Yeah.
So my Uncle John, I remember they picked me up from the airport. First time I was 15 years old and first time I ever flew. And this was in Colorado Springs. I moved there. He was stationed in Colorado Springs. And when he saw me, I had 2 holes in my left ear. Because back then you didn't pierce your right ear, you just pierced your left ear.
Right.
So I had 2 earrings in and he's like, "Hey man, some girl at the airport gave you the earrings." I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You need to take those out."
Wow, yeah. That's military right there, yeah.
Exactly. Boom, I took those out, had to get rid of the bleached hair. So I really wasn't used to structure like that because I was kind of used to really doing what I wanted. My stepmother didn't really care what I did, and my dad was gone most of the time, sleeping or working, so he really didn't have a stronghold or, didn't really care what I did. Once I moved in with my uncle, I had that structure. It was kind of like, and this is really going to tell my age, like the Leave It to Beaver family. Like the Leave It to Beaver family, the mom's there. She does all the cooking and makes sure the household's maintained. And, the man is out working, making the money. And that's exactly what it was. And then I had my 2 cousins there. So I get along with them pretty good. And so when I got there, it was just cool. I was loving life, man.
Yeah, but you went through some, like a lot of people hear childhood and think innocence, but some of us hear childhood and think hypervigilance. That survival wiring starts early, and you could tell, like, your upbringing from early, you don't choose it, it chooses you,
Yeah, because I went through a lot with my mom. My mom bounced around from man to man, and and back then it wasn't. I don't want to really say that like now they're like, okay, I don't want to introduce my kid until we're together X amount of time. It wasn't like that back then. I was like, hey, this is John, or this is Johnny or Robert, and I was like, okay. And she had a lot of problems with, man, I remember one time, I think I was 11 years old, and I remember this like it was yesterday, because when trauma happens, it's really etched in your mind. And I remember I just heard a lot of chaos, and I woke up and I walked into the living room. It was dark. And I just remember my mom was on her knees begging this guy to stop hitting her. Yeah, man. And that was very traumatic with me. So I went into the bedroom and got a bat, and I went Barry Bonds on this dude,
Good. Mm-hmm.
So hit him a couple times. And then this was when we was in Florida, and then I ran up the street to my grandpa's house and told him what happened. And I just remember him getting a pistol and said, hey, I'll be right back.
Mm.
And then he went down, did what he did, and then came back. I said, well, what happened? He said, well, I had to spend a few. So I guess he went and, showed him, hey, don't be doing this. And I remember that like it was yesterday, man. So
yeah.
Trauma like that is definitely crazy.
Right. And addiction was present around you early, right? How did that shape you, like how you learn to trust people?
So addiction, I saw my mother, back then, she wasn't really on hard drugs. She would do marijuana. And I remember she used to sell it. And I remember she used to smoke in front of me and make it look like a cigarette. I'm like, no, but you're not fooling me. And I told her that one day, you're not fooling me. I know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
But I really didn't care. It became normal, I guess. And I don't know. I just remember when she smoked the Virginia Slim cigarette, the little.
I know the Virginia Slims.
I remember one day she let me take a puff because I was curious. I can't remember what age I was, but I was young. And I remember I almost choked to death. So that was
from the Virginia Slims?
Yes. So I had a hard time breathing after that. And I'm like, I never want to do that again. And that's good because I've never smoked ever since. Now, I've gotten to smoking cigars, but that's a little different.
Right. That's me right there. I love cigars, man.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So
y'all got, speaking of cigars, Swaggy Vets got the premium cigars coming out, right?
Man, yes. We just met with our guy that I was actually in the 82nd Airborne Division with. His name's Raul, Puerto Rican guy. He's a funny guy. But we went down to Florida this past weekend, and we met up with him in Orlando, and he gave us a bunch of samples, and I'm like, okay, I really like X, Y, and Z. So they're the premium joints too. And he was telling me the difference between the plants. So I guess the plants, right? The top of the plant that gets the most sunlight is like the more premium when it comes to the tobacco. So I didn't know this type of stuff. He was just educating me on it. And so that's what he's getting us, those premium rolled cigars. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a gift set. And we're going to call it Thank You for Your Service. We're going to have 3 cigars in there. We're going to have the cutter that you cut it, or the puncher that you punch a little hole in it. And then we're going to have a box of matches set.
Nice.
It's going to be a gift for, you can buy somebody, PCSing, or you could just buy a gift for a soldier you just want to thank from service.
Right,
that's gonna be our rollout. It's rolling out soon, so y'all.
I like that. Promotions, everything. I like that. Did he tell you about the Maduro wraps?
Yes, we have some Maduros.
Yeah,
He
I would
gave us a
love
whole
that.
pack of them. I got you. I got your
Yeah, all
address. I'm
right.
gonna hook you
Okay.
up.
I got you. All right, cool, cool. All right. I stopped you somewhere. Go ahead, finish.
Okay, so I moved in with my Aunt Key and Uncle John, and we were in Colorado Springs. So boom, he finished up there, and then we moved to Offutt Air Force Base in uh, Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska. And when he told us, I'm like, Nebraska, that's like cornfields and the country. But then when I got there, it was nothing like that. It was. I liked Omaha actually. It was a nice place, and that's when I'd always been a football player. I played Pop Warner, and that's one thing my mom did. She put me in football. So I played football since I was 8 years old all the way up through high school. And I was good. Not to toot my own horn, but I was really good. I was a linebacker and I played center too. So
Well, you are kind of over there tooting your own horn there, buddy.
well, I'll tell you, I started varsity my freshman year. So in Nebraska, they breed them big. Them boys are huge.
Right.
So boom, I got to so my uncle, because football season starts a little bit before school back then. Me and him, because my uncle they have their house in Florida also, so they had spent all their summers in Florida. So me and my uncle actually drove to Nebraska early so I can get into football. So we were there, and I remember after football season, I played 2 years, and then when I wasn't playing football, I had a job at the commissary. So anybody that's ever been in the commissary, I was a bagger. Yeah.
I used to work in the commissary, but I did the whole stocking.
Okay.
Yeah.
You was the stock. Yeah, I was just a bagger, and and it's easy for the commissary because they don't pay their baggers; they get paid off tips.
Right.
So I just remember, and this is when the financial illiteracy correlating to not doing what I'm supposed to do. I remember. This is back when Tommy Hilfiger was really popular.
Rocking, what?
Yeah, this was 98, 97, 98. I used to go commissary, you get your tips. After I get off, I go to the BX, the base exchange, and I would exchange the small bills for larger ones. And then I was like, man, and I remember I bought me some Tommy jeans. Ones with like the carpenter ones with the thing on the side. You could put
right.
You put your, it was for the hammer. It had the little slot on the side you could put your hammer in. It was that style. So I had those for a while. So I remember a couple months after that, I'd wear them all the time. And my Aunt Kitty, she'd every time I wore them, she would wash them, and I remember they got faded. I'm like, man, I need me another pair. So I went back over, and I was like, but I ain't got the money to buy them. So what I did was, my dumb self, I took the new pair in the dressing room, took the old pair off, put the new pair on, and then walked out and folded them up real nice. Like, oh, okay, I don't want these. Like I'm just tried these on, but I don't want to buy them. But what happened was my dumb behind left my ID card in the pants.
I saw it coming. I already saw it coming.
So a couple days later, I get home from school and my uncle comes to me. My uncle's that type of guy. If he asks you a specific question, usually he knows the answer to the question.
Right.
He wants to see if you're going to be truthful.
Right.
So he comes to me and says, hey, where's your ID card? I said, you do the pat around like, I thought I had it,
And how old were you at this time?
I was 16. No, I was 17. I had just turned 17.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 17. I'm trying to remember. It's so long ago, man.
Right.
So basically, I lied to him. And what happened was the MPs called him, because of course his rank and name was on the ID card as my sponsor. And he asked him, and he told me the story. He asked him, well, did he steal anything? And they're like, well, no, he didn't steal anything, but he walked out without any pants on. So I came up with a story and told him, well, I just was confused and put the wrong pants back on. And of course, my uncle, being a 06 full-bird colonel, I remember, and this was the first time I ever got a taste of like military. When we walked into the MP station, everybody was like, Tinge Hunt. And everybody went to attention from my uncle. I was like, whoa. So basically they said, okay, it was a mistake. Don't worry about it. But what I didn't realize is we lived on base because he was the group commander, which is the equivalent in the Army to a brigade commander.
Wow.
Yeah. So he could have got kicked off base for the actions that I did.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah. So he said, you know what, man? You got to go.
Man.
Yeah. And my Aunt Kitty was very devastated because the thing was, I wasn't, back then, I didn't realize what I had and I didn't realize how this affected everybody. You know, I was just in my own world, not realizing it. And I really wasn't remorseful. I didn't say I'm sorry. I kind of walked around with an attitude. And I told my uncle years later, I said, if I was you and somebody did that to me, I'd probably want to fight me.
But hold on, Big Penn, hold on. Well, real quick, I got to tell you that me and you kind of walked in the same shoes, you know, during this time, like the same path, it seemed like, because I got kicked out of every duty station my mother was in. And they threatened to, like, kick her, you know, basically make her leave her duty stations if I didn't leave. That's how bad I was. But I want to back up for a minute, pre-Army, right?
Okay.
You dropped out. Right? And you went straight to work. Mentally, who were you during that time? You know, were you just trying to like build a future or trying to make it through the week?
No, what happened is when I was 17, I moved back in with my dad. This is after my Uncle John said, hey, you got to go. But what he actually did for me, he bought me a truck. It was a Mazda B2000, old 87 joint. And we drove that from Omaha to Florida. Nice little stick shift truck, you know. So he gave that to me, make sure I was squared away. And when I got back to my dad's, things were just worse because and I don't want to say I deserved it, but it was like a hostile environment. You know, he was talking down to me, oh, you can't even make it there. And, you know, you're a F up and all this type of stuff. So that kind of resonated with me and it made me just, you know, feel bad. So one of my childhood friends I knew from Leesburg, my boy Sam, he lived in Orlando. Previously he lived in Leesburg and I've known him since I was 10. So he's like, man, you just come live with me. And then his mom, Cheryl, who I call my auntie to this day, I love her with all my heart. She's like, yes. She calls me her son. She's like, yes, son, come live with us. So I moved to Orlando when I was 17, but I wasn't old enough to register in the school. So that's kind of like how the dropout came in.
Right.
You know,
I understand that.
Yeah. So what I did was I got a job at this place called Shell Seafood. It's no longer there and it's shut down, but it's kind of like a uppity Red Lobster back then. And I got a job there. I remember I was making $7.25 an hour. And then about a couple months later, he's like, you know what? You're doing really good. I'm gonna bump you up to $7.50. And boy, you can't tell me nothing.
You was on top of the world.
Hey, I was like, really? Oh, thanks, man. So I was just going to work and I would help my auntie out, give her some money because I was very thankful. And I remember I wasn't aware, of course I had this truck, I wasn't aware of insurance. I wasn't aware of registration. I wasn't aware of none of this. So of course my tag expired. I didn't have any insurance and I was just like Chameleon Air. I was riding dirty.
Just roll, right? Okay.
Yeah, and then one day I got pulled over and I got like 9 tickets.
Hold on, all at one time? Or
all at one time. He threw the book at me and they was gonna take me to jail. My friend was with me who was my auntie Cheryl is her nephew. And I got pulled over and they put me in handcuffs, put me in the back. I thought I was going to jail. And then he went and called my auntie and said, hey, they got Brad. But they didn't arrest me. They said, okay, just get this taken care of, but you got to leave the truck here. So we left the truck there. I remember the next day I came back at like 1 a.m. and picked it up and took it back home. So after that, man, I kind of had a divine intervention with myself. Like I'm thinking, what am I doing with my life? What purpose am I going to do? How am I going to survive doing this?
So that was your breaking point?
That was my breaking point, I would say. And I called my Aunt Kitty and I said, hey, I need your help. I want to go to Job Corps. Because Job Corps back then, if anybody knows about Job Corps, it's a place where you go get a trade like masonry or auto body or
Yes, sir.
welding or
Yes, sir.
anything. And then they have GED classes to get your GED.
Right.
So I was like, oh, this is what I need to do. So my Aunt Kitty that summer came and I went to Job Corps. And yeah, I was in this thing called pre-law enforcement, which is basically how to be a corrections officer.
Oh, shit.
And that's when I met my recruiter. But what it did was pre-law, my recruiter came and helped me get I was an E3 when I came in. I wasn't a private E1. So yeah, I met my recruiter and then enlisted in the Army, man.
And that's so, I just want to tell you, man, that moment where you looked in the mirror and realized this isn't sustainable no more, man. You know, that's at your breaking point. That's not weakness, brother. That was clarity, you know?
Absolutely.
And I love that. So if the Army never entered your life, where does that version of Big Penn end up?
Man, I don't know. I just know that I didn't feel like I had a purpose. I didn't feel like I was going anywhere positive. I felt like it was Groundhog's Day, man. Working, going to work. Now, I was moving up at Shells. I started off as a dishwasher, and then I moved to prep, which,
Okay.
like coming to America, and that's when the
Right.
big bucks start rolling.
Right?
So, and then I moved to prep, and then boom, he's like, you know what? I'm going to do you to like, I moved to the line. I was on the line.
Okay.
Yeah. But, I mean, it wasn't fulfilling. I didn't feel like I had a purpose, man. So,
Right.
if I didn't go in the military, I don't know what I'd be doing, bro. I couldn't even imagine life without going into the military.
Right.
Honestly.
Right. So you enlisted, October 2000? You enlisted?
Yes, I went into the delayed entry program. It was October 15th. I went to MEPS on my birthday.
Okay.
And then I just remember I pressed C for every answer on the ASVAB and ended up getting a 34.
I don't even know what a 34 is. You couldn't have passed that with a 34.
Yes, 31. You only need to score 31 to get in the Army. So I
Okay,
scored 34.
okay. I don't even remember the scoring system.
Yeah. So I just remember talking to the lady, and she's like, well, and I remember going in there. My uncle told me, whatever you do, don't go infantry. I was like, okay. And then she was going out the jobs I was eligible for. She's like, well,
Right.
you can be a communications person. I was like, really? Communications? Well, what's that? And she's like, well, if you want to run behind a truck with some wire, that's for you. I was like, well, no, that don't sound good. Then she's like, well, we got a bonus for going infantry. You can get $20,000.
Yeah, of course they did. Of course. Yeah.
But that thing played in the back of my head. Like, my uncle's like, don't go infantry.
Don't go infantry.
And then she's like, well, we got a truck driver. You can be a truck driver. I
Right,
was like,
right.
sign me up. That sounds good.
Did they have a bonus?
They didn't have any bonus. Not
No,
back then.
no.
Not pre 9/11.
Right.
So I picked that. And then initially they had airborne in my contract. And I was like, airborne? What's that? And she's like, you jump out of airplanes. I said, I don't want to be airborne. So she took it off. But what happened was when I went to basic, I think is because they had.
Where did you go to basic?
I went to basic at Fort Benning.
Fort Benning. Okay. Oh, they had you on the right track, buddy.
They did. I think they put Fort Benning because they had airborne in my contract. So when they took airborne off, they didn't change the basic or anything like that.
Yes.
So when I went to basic, I just remember showing up to reception, right? And my initial thought of we had this dude was blacker than the ace of spade, and he was bald headed. He reminded me of the dude from Predator, Mac.
You remember everything,
Mac,
man.
yo. Yeah, I remember him because he was scary to me. I'm like, what's going on? He would just come in here and look around with the meanest face. He's like, you need to clean my bay. My bay needs to be sparkling. And he would smoke us right there in the bay because it wasn't good enough. So, yeah, man. And then I just remember that the day that they come pick you up from reception, you're sitting on your bags, and then it's like the drill sergeants come in. They're walking. There was like 6 of them. They had the round browns on, looking sharp. And I just remember, oh, here we go. So they come pick us up and get on that bus. I just remember back then we had the BDUs and you had to have the spit shine boots.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I was like the last to get on, so I was in the front seat. And I'm holding my bag, and I remember we hit a bump, and my bag fell down and landed on one of the drill sergeant's shiny boots. And he looked up at me, and said, "Private, you better move this doggone bag." I said, "Roger that."
Yes, drill sergeant. Yes, drill sergeant.
Hey, it put the fear of God in me, man.
So hold on. Like, so your basic training was tough, right?
Yep.
So what do you think, like, because AIT, man, our AIT was no joke neither. So what you think was worse, your basic or your AIT?
Basic.
Basic, really?
Yeah, because when we got to AIT, we had female drill sergeants. I wasn't used to that.
Okay.
I was like, what is going on? We got female. And then we had females in our AIT. We didn't have any females at basic. It was all males.
Bro, I looked in the mirror one morning. Remember they used to play the cadences to wake us up on the loudspeaker? Mm. Bro, I went into the latrine area and I looked into the mirror, bro, and I just stared at myself in the mirror and I was like, what am I doing here? I had a nervous breakdown at that point. I was like, I can't do it, bro. AIT was, well, of course, I went to Relaxing Jackson, so, but, you know, AIT was like by far, hands down, worse than and tougher than my basic. So did you understand what the culture demanded, or did they teach you the hard way?
Man, my first taste of the bro, when I got to, I'm gonna tell you a funny story, and I almost got in big trouble. I got to reception, and well, let's back up because I want to tell you this story. So when I got to basic, you know, basic, that's home of the airborne,
right?
So I remember after that, I was like, man, I want to go airborne now. So fast forward to AIT, because they had airborne initially. Remember in AIT, they're like, hey, these people have been chosen to go to airborne school, and my name was on there. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And then
so that was the first time you realized you was going airborne?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, because I told them to take it off my contract,
and they didn't take it off.
So let's fast forward to when I got to reception. I remember I got there, it was like day one, and then they came and we had a room inspection. Mm-hmm. So I had just got there. I haven't even unpacked yet. And they start moving stuff around, and there was this, you remember back when we got issued those brown underwear?
Oh, man, I was getting crotch rot and all that with those.
So there was a pair of underwear behind the locker that I was assigned to. And so the guy found them. So, and then he started calling me the dirty underwear guy. And this dude would tell me in roll call. He wouldn't say Pennington. He said dirty underwear guy. So after about 2 days, I said, that's not my name. Man, I'm
over here dying. Ooh.
And I think what helped me out was I scored a 300 on my PT test. So so I think he told the first sergeant what I said, and then I went in there and told the first sergeant my story. So he was like, "Okay, you're good, man. You're good." But
didn't I burn you? Didn't I burn you on our AIT, our last PT test in AIT? I think I burnt you, bro. No. I think I burnt you on that run.
I was only one of two to score a 300 on the PT test at AIT.
Yeah, I think you did score high. I'll talk about on the run, though. I think I burnt you on that run coming in.
No, because back then, we got the hydroxy cut.
And we was on that hydroxy cut.
And you was like, does this give you energy? I was like, yeah, man. So you had took it before the PT test. You said, man, I did worse with this stuff. Right.
It had me all jittery and stuff. Yeah.
And back then, they had put ephedrine in it. It was ephedrine that was in the hydroxycut. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so after that, man, I went to Delta Company, 782nd Main Support Battalion, man. It was my first company.
So I got a good question for you. What was the first moment in training when you realized the old you had died, or did it die already?
I think showing up to the 82nd, man, getting there, getting to my unit, we had a really high up tempo. And then I remember, okay, my first jump in division, they call you a cherry until you do your first jump. And my first jump in division, they put cherry pies in my pocket, right? And then before you jump, they hit your pockets so it splatters all in your pants. That's like you're popping your cherry. So that was kind of like, but they would congratulate me and everything. And that's the first time I really felt that real camaraderie. And I knew I loved it because it took me back to when I played football. And I felt like I had a family. I felt like this is where I belong.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. So you spent 12 years with the 82nd, right?
Yeah, man. Spent 12 years there because we kept deploying.
Right,
you know?
right.
So every time you'd get fenced in on the way back and, okay, we're back, but we're deploying in a year. So, you know, gearing up. So, yeah, I spent 12 years in the 82nd, and I would have spent longer, but I signed up for civil affairs. Yeah. So civil affairs, you had to put your packet in. I remember I got selected, got the email, congratulations. And that's when I left and they gave me French and everything. So I was trying to learn French. But I went to there and I was the second class that was supposed to do the selection process. So I got there and I was there for about 3 months because you have to be there and you in process and then you get a date to go to selection. So boom. And it was really cool because you got there, we didn't do nothing. We just came in and did PT and it's like, well, we ain't got nothing for you, go home. So, I mean, it was really cool. This was, you know, my first introduction to like the big boy rules. So
they kind of got a break with that, right?
Oh, I got a big break, man, especially from the 82nd, dude.
Right.
You know, 82nd was so high up tempo and we're going to the field or we're jumping or you're deploying. It was just crazy, man. Up tempo, the 82nd is bananas. So, so boom, I take my PT test. I did maxed out my push-ups and then we did sit-ups. So I remember I always cut the lining out of my PT shorts because I never liked the lining. So I'm doing my sit-ups and my shorts are riding up and I took my arm away to fix my shorts and they terminated me before I could get to the passing mark for the sit-ups. So I ended up failing the sit-ups and ultimately failed the PT test, so I couldn't go to selection.
Oh, man. That's crazy. I know, man.
So they dropped me from the course. I was so distraught, man. So distraught. So that's when I came down on orders to go to this 173rd in Europe. So
hey, hold on. 173rd, is that Italy?
So, yes. Back then, it was Italy. The main unit, division, or brigade was located in Vicenza, Italy.
Right.
However, we had a support unit in Bamberg, Germany, and that's where I went, Bamberg, Germany.
Okay, got it.
We had artillery and we had support in Bamberg, Germany. So I was there, boom, got to Bamberg, Germany. I got there March 2012. So got there and then they were already on the PAX chart to deploy to Afghanistan. So I got there in March and then we deployed in June. So
I'm glad you said deployments, man. That's what I want to get into.
Okay.
3 deployments, 1 Iraq, 2 Afghanistan. So how did Iraq change you differently than Afghanistan? What was the difference from the 2?
Well, when we got to Iraq, it was the initial push and it was just, I remember we would take the infantry out. I just remember first getting there, man. I'm like, holy crap, I'm deployed, I'm in the combat zone. It was surreal at first. Then we started doing our missions. I remember we would take the infantry we set up a rally point, and we would sit there, pull security. They would dismount, and about 45 minutes after they dismount, you just see tracers going everywhere. Boom, 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 boom. They went to do an objective or maybe roll up a HVT or something like that, and then they would come back, and then we would exfil. So that we did that. I did a lot of time. I was on the 1088, which is the tractor trailer, and we would just go, and MSR Tampa was home, up and down MSR Tampa, going through Fallujah and all that type of stuff. And mostly my truck would either take water, or we would have food taken to the different forward operating bases for our, because we were support, man. We'd take mail and all that stuff. So But one time we went to this place. We were empty, and they said, "Hey man, we just rolled up a bunch of," and this was before IEDs came out, because I remember the first IED I saw was April, and they had put a 155 round on the guardrails on the roads, and I just remember blowing up, and the dirt flew in the air like it was a cartoon. I was like, "Oh my God."
Right.
That was the first time I ever counted an IED.
Right.
And luckily it didn't injure anybody. It just went off, and, we just pushed through the kill zone and, made it to where we're going. But we got a call. They had rolled up an IED maker, and they had a bunch of ordnance, unexploded ordnance, that we had to put on the back of my truck. It was like 100 155 rounds, some landmines, some 60 millimeter mortars, some 80s and all that. So we're loading all this stuff on the back of my truck, and I'm just oblivious to this. And after, a couple of years, I'm thinking, I had all this ordnance on here. If we hit another IED and this stuff exploded, I would have been missed.
Right.
So I'm like, Jesus, man.
That's crazy.
And we're just carrying this stuff around on the back of my truck.
Right? Or like if I'm just visualizing a round just hitting one of them, projectiles the right way, and you just done. So take me back to when you was in Afghanistan and your vehicle hit a 500-pound IED.
Okay. So this is when I was in the 173rd. The way we did our convoys was we had the scout truck, and it had a mine roller on it. We had the MRAPs, the Max Pro. We would have a scout truck, and then we would have our lead truck. And I was in the scout truck. We were about 200 meters ahead of the convoy, so we can be a scout, look for IEDs, and kind of search kind of better than the front vehicle. And that's what we did. So I remember we had come back from Bagram. We were on Route Utah going from Bagram, and we were at Fob Shank, and it was like 4 a.m. And we had to stay somewhere because we had a couple miles up the road. There were troops in contact, and so they wanted us to do a short halt and wait for everything to clear out up there. So we were sitting there for about 45 minutes, and it was like 4:45. Then we got the call, "Hey, you guys can continue mission."
0445?
Yeah, 04:45 in the morning. So the sun was it started getting light out early. And I came up to this historical IED site. It was a culvert that had been blown up already. And so we did a short hole, and I told my gunner, which he had the Crow system. He was sitting behind me, and he turned his thermals on to see if he could see any type of heat signature. So boom, he's scanning there, didn't see anything. I turned on my spotlight and was looking off to my side, trying to look for a trigger man, couldn't see anything. And what they did was they put rocks in the middle of the road, so they make you go to one side or the other.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. And then my driver's like, "Hey, Sergeant, got these rocks." I was like, "I don't care. We're going in the middle of the road."
Mm-hmm.
So I come over the radio. My call sign was Titan 11. I said, "Hey, Titan 11, don't see anything. We're about to move." So boom, Titan 11's moving. So as we started to move, all I felt was the truck lift up. And then boom, I just went blank.
Mm-hmm.
I was out. And then I don't know how long I was out for, but I woke up, I came to, and it was just black smoke in the truck, just filled the truck. I couldn't hardly see anything. Wow. Our comms were out, our truck was dead. Nobody in the truck was talking, so I come to and I start, hey, y'all good? And nobody said anything. And I was like, hey, y'all good? And then everybody came to, and then I took my radio out of the comms thing, and then I turned it on and was talking, hey, we just hit ID and blah, 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 because the comms were out. The truck was totally off. We didn't have any power. But fortunately, my driver was able to get the truck turned on, back on, and then my gunner kind of opened the hatch and was waving a light saying we're okay. And so we limped to the next forward operating base, which was like maybe 400 or 500 meters up the road. We got there, and I just remember my mouth was all bloody, and it was crazy.
So your vehicle, it landed the right side up?
Yeah, so if we didn't have the mine roller on the front of it, our vehicle definitely would have flipped over. Yeah. Because I just remember our truck behind us was like, man, we thought y'all was gone. That's all he was saying to me.
So I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm just like, so the impact, did it explode or detonate directly up underneath the truck, or was it on the side? Or
it was on my side. It was right underneath me. It was in between me and my gunner because it breached the hull just a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah, but it didn't really get any of us. It was, in between us. So yeah, and after that, man, I just saw the truck. I'm like, I'm glad, God's got a plan for me. After that,
yeah, bro, I'm like, that hit home, man. I'm glad. I'm like, thank God you're still here with us, bro. Because that could have went, directly up underneath. That could have obliterated the whole truck. I wonder, like, how deep they buried it.
Yeah. Well, it goes to show that equipment we had works.
Yes.
Yeah. If that would have been a Humvee or something, it wouldn't have been, because the Humvee just absorbs the blast, man.
Right. So what part of that experience still lives in your body today?
So I remember they took me off the road for about a month and a half. And I remember they put me back on the road, but I wasn't in the TC, the truck commander seat. I was in the back as a dismount. So one of our SOPs was when we come up on a historical ID site, we dismounted. We have this thing called the Thor. So the Thor is electronic warfare. You turn it on and it blocks any signals within a certain distance. So we had that just in case they had remote IEDs set up. We would dismount, go around, check for stuff, and then get back. And then, come back and get in the truck and Charlie Mike. So the first time I was back on the road, we came up on the same IED site that I got blown up on. And I just remember after we did that, we came back, I had a panic attack in the truck, and it was so overwhelming. I just crouched down, and I thought I was going to die again. I thought I was going to blow up again. So I kind of braced myself, nothing happened. I was just like, oh man, that's the only time I've ever had a panic attack. And it just felt overwhelming. Big time.
And during that time when you was having your panic attack, did your soldiers notice? Because I know you in a leadership position, you gotta be there for your soldiers. So did your soldiers notice or anything like that?
No, I was in the back by myself, so nobody saw. I mean, I don't even know if I would have cared at that moment.
Right.
I just,
Right.
But yeah, no, nobody saw me. At least I don't think anybody saw me. So.
Right. What part of you didn't come home the same? Or were you straight when you came home? Were you still,
It still resonated a little bit, because when you're riding down the road and you see trash in the road, you're always like, man.
Yeah.
Especially being deployed for a year, 15 months, and you're used to certain protocol. But yeah, it changes you, because I had memory problems after that, and I had to go to the TBI clinic. I had a traumatic brain injury.
Right.
So they had certain things they did to help me with my memory, and, but I felt like a piece of me stayed in Afghanistan, man.
Yeah.
They took something from me.
Right. And so, like, if you could put it out there just to let people know, what is this something about combat that, people that never had to endure it will never understand?
I really think, because In the military, they train us for this. You train, and we do these things called battle drills. Battle drill is a collective task rapidly executed without applying a deliberate decision-making process. So you do it without thinking. It's like a football play, red 98, razor, whatever. The quarterback does this, the running back does that, the guards pull, boom. That's what we do in a battle drill, where we react to contact, the gunners do a certain thing. You have to assume a certain posture. So we train so much for combat. When something like that happens, you react in a certain way because that's what you're trained to do. A regular civilian that doesn't train for that wouldn't understand.
Right.
They wouldn't know what to do unless maybe our first responders, police officers, they get in gunfights and all that type of stuff. They train for that type of stuff.
Right.
But the average person walking around that's never trained, I don't think they would really understand, because when you go through all this stuff with your battle buddies, you build a certain camaraderie, you build a certain relationship with them, that sticks with you for life.
Right.
You go to war with someone, you train with someone, it's just different. It's a different mindset. It's a different lifestyle.
Definitely.
So, yeah, man.
Yeah, I feel that. Well said, brother. Well said. And you went to Advanced Leader Course, ALC. I never made it up that far. Okay, you led soldiers. What did leadership teach you that combat couldn't?
Leadership teaches you that you have to make a decision. People are relying on you to make decisions, to lead them, to train and mentor them, because you've done certain things that they haven't done yet. And that's one good thing about the military. You do all these leadership schools, you learn certain things that you can help your soldiers. But I wasn't that type of leader that I wasn't, just because I outrank you doesn't mean you don't have a good idea. Doesn't mean we can't do things a certain way. I always listened to my soldiers, and I always took I gave respect, and they respected me for doing that, But when it's time to work, it's time to work, I can differentiate between being a nice guy and then, hey, when it's time to work, let's do this.
Yes, sir.
But that's one good thing that the military taught me is a leader, and I carry that to today, and it's actually helped with business on the outside of the military, because the military is a business if you think about it.
It is definitely. So what achievement? I see you stacked there, buddy, on your, what you had on your blues or your class A's, or what achievement?
My dress blues.
Your dress blues, right? What achievement matters the most?
I think I got picked to be the platoon sergeant for the security element when I was on the mentor team. So I was in charge a lot. I was in charge of the convoys. I was in charge of gathering intel for the convoys. I was in charge of our security. So I got a Bronze Star for that. And that probably was one of the most proud, because I did a lot for that, and I felt like I earned it. Whereas sometimes if just a lieutenant deploys and they sit in the talk or do something, they get a Bronze Star just for being there.
Yeah, no doubt, yeah.
But me, when I was a staff sergeant, doing all this, and I earned that.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, I felt good about that one.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
I did get a Purple Heart for the TBI, but I call that a marksmanship badge for the enemy. I got injured and got a Purple Heart.
Right. Purple Heart is big, though, brother.
It is. I don't want to take anything away from anybody who's received a Purple Heart, but
right.
Yeah.
I definitely dig it. So at the time when you stripped off that uniform for the final time, you took off that uniform, who were you mentally during that time? Because I know when I took mine off, I had so many different emotions going on. I had anxiety. I was like, what's to come? The structure's going. Then I was excited. I had all these things going on in my mind. So who were you mentally?
Man, I didn't even know who I was, honestly. I remember when you do something for a long period of time, you have a certain structure. You wake up, you go to PT, you go about your day, you're training, mentoring, leading soldiers. You're a part of an organization, right? Then when you get out, They're like, hey, thank you for your service. Have a nice day. You go from all that structure, from all that leading, mentoring, everything, and then you're just by yourself, right? Now, I have a family. I lead my family, but it's a little different once you get out of the military. And that I talk to soldiers all the time because I still work on Fort Campbell. I still work with soldiers. And I tell them, hey, have a plan. Don't just get out without a plan. Make sure you take care of yourself. Right. What I mean by taking care of yourself, go get seen for any injuries you have. Because, yeah, you're a part of an organization, but and it took an old head to pull me to the side after, and say, hey, man, you're just a number,
Right.
The Army or the military will replace you like that.
Yep. Snap of a finger.
The snap of a finger. Everybody's replaceable. Mm-hmm. So you need to take care of yourself. And I didn't do that for the first 10 years of my military career. Like I said, I had to hold somebody. I was always taught mission first. You need to take care of your soldiers. The mission, soldiers, you lead from the front. You can't be injured. You can't have anything wrong with you.
Right. Right.
So when I started doing that, and that's why I always preach to soldiers now, man, make sure you take care of yourself. I don't care if you stub your toe, go to sit call and get it seen. Because
get it documented.
Yes, absolutely. Get it documented. Because when you get out, you can say you're injured, but do you have a paper trail?
Exactly.
Can you prove you're injured?
Right. Right.
So that's why I always advocate for that. And I didn't sit on somebody's couch until it was almost time to get out. And when I sat down and when I talked about all my problems with an unbiased individual, it felt really good. I felt like there was a weight lifted off. I felt like that decompression, like that lever was pushing, So we really advocate for, on our podcast, go sit down with somebody.
Yeah, definitely.
Talk with somebody, man. Definitely. Just sitting out here talking with you is really, it's
therapeutic. Yes. Yeah. Yes, my brother. We are here. Eye to eye. Yes. So you worked oil fields afterwards, retail, delivery, at what point, was a turning point where you realized you needed a new mission?
Yeah, so when I first got out, I really didn't take a knee. I went to work right away. I went to North Dakota. I started working in the oil fields. And like I was just explaining, when you have a structure doing a certain thing, going from that to being around people, being, having that camaraderie with soldiers, when you work in the oil field, man, it's very lonely. You're by yourself, you're out there driving, you're loading up. And I did that 6 days a week, 12 hours a day for like 5 months. And I became depressed, honestly, man.
Right.
Because I did it. It was in the wintertime. It was so cold in North Dakota, negative 30 degrees in the winter.
I can't even see you in North Dakota.
Yeah, I'm from Florida, man. I wasn't used to that. So, I mean, I wouldn't say it helped, but the company lost a contract because they had a lot of guys doing safety violations. So I left North Dakota and then came back to North Carolina, to Tennessee in Clarksville. And my actual recruiter who put me in the Army is from here. So I kind of started hanging back out with him, and he had a friend who got me a job at Lowe's. So I worked at Lowe's delivering appliances, and it was cool, man. I was making okay money, but like it was just busy work.
Right.
Kind of keeping your, it really didn't mean anything.
Right.
And then after that, I got a job delivering fuel. So I went and got my CDL and got my hazmat, my tanker endorsements. And I was delivering fuel. Same thing, man. You're out there by yourself. And so a good friend of mine brought me on and said, hey, man, we need to start a podcast. So we started off, man, just by talking. And we started off with people we knew. People we knew in the military. Started off with people in our old company. And after, it just evolved, man. And talking to them. And then we got, we had Stryker on. He came on and blessed us.
Yes, sir.
And then, so if y'all want to see his episode, go to Swaggy Vets on YouTube and you can look him up, James Stryker.
So tell us about the Swaggy Vets, man. What problems are y'all trying to solve for veterans?
So we're solving mental, just like we're all recovering. Well, everybody's recovering for something, whether it's PTSD, whether it's trauma, whether it's alcoholism, addiction, whether it's, hey, I just want to have a conversation because I miss talking with veterans.
Right.
And that's exactly what we provide. We just like to sit down, we like to talk, and then we're doing events too. Like last year we did a Tough Mudder in Atlanta. We had about 20 veterans come out, and we had that camaraderie. We got an Airbnb, everybody came over, we barbecued and we talked, and then we had the event.
Y'all was just on the FU podcast with CT Fletcher.
Yep, went on the FU. Yeah, it was really good. We were in California. CT Fletcher had his Iron Wars X, which is his 10th anniversary. So we were a part of that, and then he invited us to come on his podcast. That was really cool. I enjoyed that a lot.
So you guys go check it out, the FU podcast, Swaggy Vets.
Yep, absolutely. And we're starting to get, like, we had Robert O'Neill on, the guy who shot bin Laden. He was on. We had a couple Navy SEALs, Andy Stump. I got Jason Redmond. We recorded with him already. It's going to come out. I don't know when it's going to be released, but it's going to come out soon.
And y'all have a female sergeant major on there, right? That's coming out soon.
Yeah, actually it drops tomorrow. What's today? The 20th. It drops tomorrow, the 26th of February.
Right, every Thursday, right?
Yeah, every Thursday we drop. Her name's Janina Simmons. She was one of the first females to graduate Ranger School, and now she has cancer, so she's dealing with that, and she's getting out of the military after 15 years. So it's a really good when we talk about all that, and she's a rock star. It's
Can't wait to see it, brother.
Absolutely, I appreciate it, man.
So let me ask you something, Big Penn. I know time getting tight, we want winding down. What responsibility do you feel when another veteran trusts you with their trauma?
Man. Wow. That's big, man, because I think it's you need to really do what you can to help them. They're entrusting in you talking about their trauma. It's not easy to talk about stuff like that because when you're in the military, you have this kind of alpha male, whatever, or alpha female, you're taught, you taught X, Y, and Z. So to be vulnerable and talk about trauma, to me, that's a big thing. When you're vulnerable and you expose yourself to talk about things like that, just listen, man. Don't judge them. Listen to them. Take it all in. And sometimes they just want to talk about it. They're not really looking for advice. They just kind of want to vent. So sometimes you don't have to say anything. You just listen. Or sometimes they may be looking for advice. But I think they'll articulate to you if they're looking for advice. I really think that's big, man. Talking about vulnerabilities and trauma. Right. Because for a while, man, I never talked about my IED explosion. I never talked about traumatic brain injury. I've only talked about the panic attack a couple times that I had. So,
right. Definitely. Yeah, it definitely helps being vulnerable. I appreciate that. Yes, so, with the veteran community, what do you want your legacy to be?
Man, the veteran community, I want to be known as somebody who's helped veterans. I want to be, because I think veterans are precious to America. At one point, you raised your hand and said, hey, I'm writing a check for my life for America. And people don't realize the magnitude. Whether they go in to say, hey, I just want to go to school, or whether they go in to say, this is a family legacy of mine, or they just, I don't have anything else to do, I'm just going to go in the military. Well, guess what? You raised your hand and you wrote a blank check to America for your life. So I think we need to take that as something precious, man. And now, granted, not every veteran, you got your bad apples here and there. That's with anything in life, any organization, anything. But I just think, man, we need to protect veterans, man. We need to do everything we can to help veterans.
Yes, sir.
And that's our mission. Veterans helping veterans. That's our slogan.
Yes, I feel the passion, brother. I feel it. And for the veterans listening right now, Big Penn, who feel lost in the transition, what do you want them to hear from you?
You're not alone. You're not alone. We've, anybody that's did some type of military, we've been there, man. And some it's seamlessly than others. Some have been through a lot more than others. Some make plans and they get out and it's all right there. They have certain things in place, but then some don't. They get out without a plan. Just talk to somebody, man. There's crisis hotlines out there. Go to your thing called a VSO, Veteran Support Office. Every town, every city has a veteran support office, and they will help you with anything. You go there, hey, I need help. I need help with applying for disability. I need help with getting into school. I need help with anything. Their job is solely to help veterans. And usually, most of the time, most of them are veterans themselves. Right. And they know the system, and they can help you. So, Veteran Support Office, you go to your VA, if you raise your hand and did time in the military, you have benefits, and you can get seen.
Right. Unless you have a dishonorable discharge, I believe. I'm not sure. Am I correct on that?
I'm not sure. I think so. But to get a dishonorable discharge, you kind of got to do some really
Yeah, you got to do something. But it's people out there, though, believe me.
I know people who pissed hot and still got an honorable discharge.
Yeah, or other than honorable or something like that.
Honorable.
Right,
Unless you get a dishonorable, you have your benefits.
Right, definitely. Big Penn. It's been a long time coming. I've been trying to get you on here forever. I know you're busy. I'm honored, bro, that you showed up. Big Penn from AIT to Fort Bragg to war to transition to service again. This is what recovery looks like, man. Yeah.
I forgot to tell the story of when me and you had our first conversation.
How do you remember this, man?
I remember. Bro, I don't know, man. Some things just stick with you.
Yeah.
Real quick, I remember we was in AIT and they were showing us how to do a PMCS.
Gosh.
He was going around naming all the things. And I remember he's like, hey, these are the glad hands. So I remember saying something. I said, yeah, man, the happy hands. And you started laughing. It's like, no, they're the glad hands. And we've been tight ever since.
Wow. How do you remember that, man? That's crazy. Good story. The glad hands. Okay. Yeah. Brother, I'm so proud of you, man. I'm so proud of you, man. Tell everybody where they can find you, man. The Swaggy Vets, give them the links and everything, brother.
Yeah, man. If you want to follow Swaggy Vets, go to YouTube, Swaggy Vets, and Swaggy Vet Network is what we're calling it because we're rolling out some more. We're rolling out some more shows. We just recorded. We got a Life After Sports coming out where we interview like NFL athletes and boxers and all that type of stuff because
big things.
Yeah, because kind of what that sports kind of correlates a little with the military with training and trying to find yourself outside of the sport, just like we try to find ourselves outside of the uniform. We got Vet Talk coming up where we talk to like veteran professionals who help veterans, like help to get your percentages up, how to navigate the VA, stuff like that. And then we're going to start going live soon. Look out for that. Swaggy Vets on Facebook, Swaggy Vets on Instagram. Just type in Swaggy Vets. We're up there, man.
Okay, and y'all just hit a big milestone, brother. 1,000, 100,000.
Yeah.
Subscribers.
Right, we just got our plaque.
Got the plaque behind you. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
It's in order.
It's been a long time, man. It's been 2 years. We started 2 years ago, so it's been a road, man. It's been a transition. Repetition is the father of learning. So the more you do it, the better you get. So just, anything you do, get out there and do it repetitiously, you'll get better.
Get better. Thank you. Thank you for that, brother. This has been From Survival to Service Again, a War Network conversation with my brother Bradley Big Penn Pennington.
Hey, and if you're not watching war, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Let's go. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, sir, for having me on. I really appreciate you taking the time out and thinking to me, bro. Big time, bro.
It's war. Each one reach one. We're all recovering. Peace.
Since the war began, 3,192 U.S. troops have been killed, more than 24,000 wounded. At least 50,000 Iraqi civilians have died.
It's war.